Good insert time of day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Cal, and we have made it. We have finally arrived at the last video of 2025, and year-end list season is about to get even crazier. Today, I am counting down my top 20 favorite albums of 2025. I have been looking forward to this for so long, because out of all the year-end lists this year, mine is probably the most strange, if you can put it that way. Because there's a lot of albums you would expect, some you wouldn't expect, and some that'll just cause you to scratch your head and wonder, wait, what? Because that's the glory of doing these kinds of videos. You just get to spotlight albums that you love and just talk about them in great and glorious detail. So, before we get in, I have a few albums that I want to talk about that almost made the list, but wound up missing out, so probably expanding the list next year might be a good idea. Anyway, let's get started. Monogram, Edsviren. I'm probably butchering that, but I digress. Swedish, there we go. This Swedish folk metal band combines elements of traditional heavy metal, black metal, and aforementioned folk metal, and they made a really solid album. This actually features Eric's daughter, Leah, doing some vocals in the background, and the band really plays well on this album. One thing I can definitely say is that this album really makes good use of its time. Like, as I mentioned in my honorable mentions video, there are 12 songs on here on a 50-minute runtime, and it works perfectly. It works a lot better than Judicator, but I digress. This is a really good album. If you're a longtime Monogram fan, you will absolutely love this. If you're a fan of other classic Swedish folk metal bands, maybe, dare I say it, Primordial as well, yeah, this would be a good one to check out. Next up, Deftones, Private Music. Yeah, I'm shocked that this wasn't on the list either, but hey, what can you do? This is a really solid album. I really like the opening track, My Mind is a Mountain. Yeah, this album is just so chock full of all-star performances. Like, Chino's vocals on here, absolutely killer. Stephen Carpenter delivering some insanely catchy riffs. It's just so good. And if I were to recommend a good place to start with Deftones' discography, might be this one, because it's a good gateway into their older stuff whilst also being new at the same time. Definitely give this album a spin. And finally, Grail Knights Forever. It's not a year-end list if you don't bring up the cheesiest of cheese. I love this album. This is some of the goofiest Swedish power metal I've ever heard, but it works surprisingly well. It's just so funny hearing all these songs, and the lyrical thing is that it makes it so good. And if you think power metal is made out of cheese, then you might want to probably avoid this album, but at the same time, I recommend you listen to it, because it's so funny and it's so good. But yeah, other than that, we have a long list of 20 albums to get through, so please sit back, relax, grab some snacks, and whatever metal tunes you would like to play, or just music in general in the background, please turn those on. And with that being said, let us kick off my top 20 albums of 2025. Kicking us off at number 20, we have Hyrax, Faster Than Death. So, to start things off, the album title definitely lives up to its name. This album is only 21 minutes and 45 seconds long, and it features some of the fastest songs I think Hyrax has ever written. Like, right from the opening track, Drill Into the Brain, which is only a minute and 4 seconds, you know that you're going to be in for a speedy ride, and that definitely shows throughout the rest of the album. Of course, Ketan de Peña just spitting venom from his lips as he has always done, and these songs are so well crafted and fast too. Armageddon, Drowned Bodies, the title track Faster Than Death, Revenant, Relentless. Yeah, every song on here just is going straight for the throat. It's hyper aggressive thrash metal from the Bay Area. And the album cover, while it does look weird, I think it actually kind of fits. It reminds me a bit of Shovel-Headed Kill Machine by Exodus. Either way, this is a very good album. If you're a longtime Hyrax fan and a fan of the Bay Area thrash scene like Exodus, Testament, Megadeth, early Metallica, then I highly recommend you give this album a listen. It is very good, and also kind of a quick listen too. At number 19, we have The Halo Effect, March of the Unheard. Yes, everyone, it made it, and I am so glad that it did, because this album is, like I have spoken at length, phenomenal. Like, you don't get any better melodic death metal from Sweden than you do with this band, because it's still, it is so good, and I don't know what else there is to say, since I basically spoke all that I could about this album in the last video, but yeah, it's so good. Conspire to Deceive, Detonate, Our Channel of the Darkness, Cruel Perception, basically every song on this album absolutely rips. And yeah, this is a wonderful melodic death metal representation. Highly recommend you give it a listen. It is so good still. At number 18, we have Steven Wilson, The Overview. This is probably the biggest outlier on the list, save for something that comes up later. But this is a very well-crafted progressive rock album, and yeah, that's what you would probably expect from Steven Wilson, because he always makes the most lush progressive rock material. That this album, I'm going to say this right now, this is on par with classic Pink Floyd, like Dark Side of the Moon era Pink Floyd. There's only 2 songs on here. Objects Outlive Us is 23 minutes and 17 seconds long, and The Overview, the title track, is 18 minutes and 27 seconds long. And they both make this album so good. Like, they play into the atmosphere so well. And yeah, Steven Wilson, he does most of the instruments on here. He also produced this album. But it makes for an entrancing listen, and he's crafted, I think, one of the best albums of his whole career. And it's beautiful. It really is. I highly recommend you give this a listen if you're a longtime fan of Steven Wilson, and definitely if you're a fan of Pink Floyd, because this album is beautiful. Like, this is about as lush as Wish You Were Here. It's that good. At number 17, and there's no way I couldn't include this album on the list, Sabaton Legends. Sabaton is the band that got me into heavy metal. So there might be a bit of a bias here, but I digress. This album is very good. It's just classic Sabaton doing what Sabaton does best, and I can't really fault him for that. I really enjoyed this album. Yeah, some of the lyrics in some of the songs aren't well written, but they make up for it with all the amazing songs. Of course, Templars, right from the opening track, you know it's going to be a good listen. Crossing the Rubicon, I, Emperor, Made of Steel, Lighting at the Gates, The Cycle of Songs, which is about an Egyptian pharaoh. That's cool. And Welcome Back, Toba England. You have been missed. It is so good to hear him and Chris trading off on the guitar solos on this album. And Joachim just sounds as wonderful as ever, and Pirate Hannes on the rhythm section, they do an exceptional job, and they did an enormous tour for this album. If you've seen the videos, you know what I'm talking about. And that makes this album even cooler, just seeing the stage show behind it all. And I absolutely love this album. If you're a longtime Sabaton fan, I'm sure you'll feel the same way. And if you're a longtime Swedish power metal fan, definitely give this album a spin. It is wonderful, and Sabaton rules. At number 16, might be a bit divisive with people, but we'll see. Alien Weaponry, Terra. I actually think this is a really good album. Yeah, I know Alien Weaponry have become kind of controversial in recent years, but I really like this album. I really especially like the way they switch between singing in both English and in Maori, which is the native language of the 3 members in the band. Crown, Maomoko, I'm probably going to be butchering some of these song titles, everyone, just to let you know. 1,000 Friends, Hanging by a Thread, Taneva, which features Rennie Blythe, Ponaturi, and Tekor. Again, bear with me, I'm probably butchering some of these song titles. This is a really good album, and I think Alien Weaponry are going to become one of the greatest new metal bands out of New Zealand, because they shine on this album. Like, Lewis, he does a great job on the vocals, Henry on drums, and Turanga, I probably butchered his name. He does a really great job on the bass, and if you have not checked this album out, I highly recommend you check it out, because it is so good. At number 15, and there goes my metal cred, Ave Musica, Completeness. Before you start asking, yes, your eyes do not deceive you, nor do your ears. I did listen to this album this year. And this is almost as short as Hyrax. This is only 28 minutes long, but it has 7 songs. And honestly, they're not that bad. I think this is a really good album. I really like how the band plays to their individual skill sets on this one. Octagram Dance and Alter Ego especially, that's where I think they shine the most on this one. I like the vocals, I like the guitar solos, the drumming is really good, the keyboards on this album are really good, and music-wise, it's kind of strange. It's a mixture of symphonic metal, there's a bit of a gothic tinge to it, some odd metalcore moments at times. I actually think this is a really good album, and yes, am I going to lose my metal status? Probably, but I don't care. This is a really good album. I highly recommend you check it out. It's very good. Before we get on to the next album, I need to tell you all something very important. I hate black metal. I am very much so opposed to its existence. Any black metal band who is anti-religious or hates Christianity does not get a pass in my book, as, spoiler, I'm a Christian and that music does not sit well with me. And may it be forbidden in the law of the country that you ever hear me praising the works of deicide, immolation, and incantation. That will never happen. But, on the black metal side of things, I'm being won over with Ukrainian poetry. At number 14, we have Druk, Shadow Play. I went into this album blind, because, yes, I have not listened to Druk until this album, and I was thoroughly impressed. There's only 6 songs in here: Scattering the Ashes, April, The Exile, Fallen Blossom, The Eve, and The Thirst, and all 6 of them are absolutely incredible. April, in particular, might be my favorite song on the album. It is 11 minutes of just lush atmosphere. The riffs on this album are just so good, and Roman Sanko, I'm probably butchering his last name, but he put together an all-star band. This is a wonderful album to listen to. I highly recommend you give this album a listen, because this band is absolutely incredible. If you're a longtime fan of bands like Agalok, Wolves in the Throne Room, Winterfelleth, maybe a bit of Primordial and Sayor, this is an album that is perfect for you. It is a blast to listen to, and I cannot wait to dive deeper into Druk's back catalog, because this is going to be awesome. At number 13, another returning favorite, and one I have been looking forward to talk about once again, Feuerschwanz, Nightclub. Like I said in my best power metal albums of the year video, this album receives the award for the best dance album of 2025, and I still stand by that. One thing I did forget to mention is that there is a cover of Gangnam Style by Psy, and before you ask, no, I am not joking. That is literally among the track list. But outside of that, Nightclub, Valhalla, which features Doro Pesh, Sam the Brave, Drunken Dragon, Lords of Fire with Chris Hobbs from Lord of the Lost. This whole album is just chock full of great songs to just jump up and dance. Like, if you're in a pub and they start blasting this album, you cannot help yourself but to just get on your feet and start throwing your jug of ale around or whatever. Highly, highly recommend you give this album a listen. If you're a longtime Feuerschwanz fan, you will absolutely love this. I would also say, if you're a fan of Ben Metzner's other project, D'Artagnan, then you will like this as well. It is a great album to listen to if you just want to get up and dance. Highly, highly recommend it. At number 12, we have Author and Punisher, Nocturnal Birding. This is the most dense industrial metal album I have heard all year. Like, this is got some gnarly weight to it. Like, Meadowlark, Titanus, I think is how you say it, Blackstorm Petrel, Rook, Thrush, all 8 songs in this album just pack a very strong punch. And of course, Tristan is just a crazy, crazy musician. Like, he builds his own instruments, much like Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum. That's a new reference for you. This whole album is just chock full with heavy track after heavy track, and it makes for such a beautiful but also harrowing listen. Definitely recommend this album to industrial metal fans. If you liked the last Black Magnet album, Mega Mantra, I think you'll like this album. It is just so dense and so heavy, and I absolutely love it. At number 11, the real surprise album of the list, and one that's going to shock a lot of you, we have the Dropkick Murphys, For the People. This is an amazing album. I want to start things off with a bit of fun trivia. I got this album as a Christmas present for my mom this year, because she absolutely loves the Dropkick Murphys. And I told her that this album was on my album of the year list, and it still holds up. Who'll Stand With Us, Long Shot, which features The Scratch, The Big Man, Chesterfields, and Aftershave. What a fun title. Kids Games, Streetlights, The Vulture's Circle High, which features Al Barr, Welcome Back Al, We Have Missed You, and the last track on this album, One Last Goodbye, which is a tribute to Shane MacGowan of the Pogues. Rest in peace, Shane, you are still dearly missed. This whole album is such a wonderful song, and I cannot stress this enough, that this is among the greatest punk albums of the last decade. If you're a longtime Dropkick Murphys fan, and if you're a longtime Celtic punk fan, like with stuff like the Real Mackenzies and the Pogues, I almost called the Pogues the Stooges. Those are 2 entirely different bands. I highly recommend you check this album out. It is a wonderful album to listen to. We made it. The top 10. So, let us continue. At number 10, Black Majesty, Oceans of Black. Another returning favorite, and this time at a rightfully deserved spot in the top 10. This album is still just so good. Like Dragon Lord, Set Stone on I don't know what I'm saying. Set Stone on Fire, Hold On, Oceans of Black, Gotta Hold On You, and the 2 bonus tracks, Astral Voyager and Ghost in the Darkness. All the songs on this album are so good. Like Gio's vocals, he can really carry those high notes, and the guitars on here, the bass and the drums, they all work so good together on this whole album. If you are a longtime Australian power metal fan, I think you will like this just as much as I did. And if you want some bands who I can kind of refer it to, I would say this falls into some like similar styles to like Gamma Ray, Edguy, Hammerfall. Maybe here's a deep cut for you, Wisdom. Yes, I would say Wisdom is probably among here too. This is a wonderful album. I highly recommend you give it a listen. It is just as good as the first day I listened to it. Alright, well, the music in the background is alluding to something that's coming up later. But at number 9, we have Maastricht, Espresso de la Vita Lunaire. Again, say that album title 10 times fast and your tongue is probably going to fall off, because as much as the title of the album is long, it's worth it. This is some of the best progressive power metal I have heard ever. Like, right from the opening track, Upside Down, there is another one that's before it, but it's more of a kind of narration. Boo, Ghost Casino, Mad Witches, Sunflower Eyes, Abagra, Lunar Vortex, Ethereal, the last song on here, the last station. It just reminded me of me and my friends and like the Undying Warriors as we all got together at Prog Power USA and just had a great time. If you have no clue what I'm talking about, that is perfectly fine. But this is just a wonderful album. As many of you know, I saw Maastricht at Prog Power this year. I think they played almost every song on this album, if memory serves me correct. And yes, I watched a few sets with Fabio and Renato. Such amazing human beings. And if any of the guys from Maastricht are watching this, I cannot wait to see you guys when you come back to the US. Because after an album as good as this, and somehow you guys got Tom England, Jim Rice, and Roy Khan on this album, I'm sold. I'm sold. I cannot wait to hear what comes next. At number 8, so I'm just going to say this right now, it was a busy year for Jens Bogren, because he worked on so much stuff, but I can also say that the background music is alluding to what is next. Elevite Anu. This is one of the coolest sounding albums I think I've heard all year. This is in a similar vein to the Dropkick Murphys. It's more Celtic than it is like sonically metal, but it works so well. Terra Noyes, I'm probably butchering that. The Prodigal Ones, Premonition, The Harvest, Aeon of the Crescent Moon, The Prophecy. This whole album is full of like great songs, and of course Jens Bogren produced this. He got help from Jonas Wolf, and Tommy T. Barron from Coroner actually helped co-produce this. And I love how the two vocalists, Shigril and Fabienne, I just love how they play off each other with their vocal styles. Like, one minute you can have Shigril absolutely bellowing his guts out, when you can, in the exact same frame, not even 10 seconds later, Fabienne comes in and just lifts it up with her cleans. It just makes this album so good, and I am stoked to see this band at Prog Power next year. That is going to be an insane set. I cannot wait. And I cannot stress enough how great this album is. I highly recommend you give it a listen if you're a longtime Elevite fan. And I would even throw in some nods like In Extremo and Arcona as well. Highly recommend this album. It is wonderful through and through. At number 7, and I couldn't not include this album on the list, 1914 Viribus Unitas. This album is insane. Like, this is some of the greatest music I have heard all year. Why have I been sleeping on this band? Because I can't put it to English right now, but they are so good, and this album is no exception. I know that Where Fear and Weapons Meet is probably the one everyone says is the best, but this album is just as good. The Siege of I don't know what that one is. Prze Przemysl. I'm probably going to butcher that. Battle for the Zwenin Ridge. Oh gosh, I am not going to do well trying to translate this. The Asanzo Front, the 1918 three-part trilogy, and which features Christopher Scott and Aaron Stansthorpe. And this whole album is just absolutely incredible, and if you have not listened to 1914, do it right now. All I can say is, hold your breath, aim your cannon, and we fill the sky with shrapnel and death. At number 6, and there's no way I could justify leaving this album off the list because I love it that much, Crown Wonderland. I still stand by my statement that this might be one of the catchiest albums of the whole year. Like, this melodic hard rock supergroup really made a name for themselves with this album. The title track, Wonderland, which is playing in the background, Waiting for You, Eye of the Oracle, Warlords of the North, Goodbye, Love Thy Enemy, Hearts Collide, The Fall. The Fall might be top 5 songs on the whole album for me, maybe even top 3. Like, this whole supergroup just comes out swinging on this band. Like Love Magnuson, his guitar work on this album, incredible. Alexander Strandell, his vocals, magnificent. John Levin and Kicken Lundqvist as the rhythm section, amazing. Yona T, those synth passages are so catchy, they're going to get stuck in my head by the end of the day. Yeah, I cannot stress how much this band is as good as they are. I highly recommend that you listen to this album. It is a masterpiece through and through, and I would love to see this band at Prog Power USA someday. Milton, if you're watching this, please make that a reality. At number 5, we have Majestica, Powertrain. There is no way I couldn't also include this album on the list because of how great it is. Like, there is a reason this was my number 2 power metal album of 2025, because it is as good as it can get, and I mean that in the literal sense. Because I don't think I've heard an album that showcases how great Tommy Johansson's vocals can be. Right from the title track, Powertrain, No Pain, No Gain, Battle Cry, My Epic Dragon, Mega True, which is a tribute to Hammerfall, this whole album, like A Story of the Night, Victorious, the last song, Alliance Anthem, I cannot stress how amazing this whole band is. I was so happy when I got to see this band at Prog Power this year. Of course, I met them all. I got a signed vinyl. And I cannot wait to see them again. And I cannot wait to jam this album again. If you're a longtime power metal fan and you want some new stuff out of Sweden, definitely listen to this album. It is glorious. And all I can say is, Tommy, if you're watching this album rules. At number 4, we have Brainstorm, Plague of Rats. Yeah, there is no way I couldn't leave this off the list, because it is that good still. Yeah, this album is just chock full of like, heavy riffs. Like, I can definitely see where Ordnogan got their big inspiration from. Behind Enemy Lines, Eater of Snakes, The Shepherd Girl, Masquerade Conspiracy, The Dark of Night, Crawling, Curtains Fall. This whole album is just amazing, and you all know the story. I listened to this right before I went to Prog Power, and right from the opening notes, I knew it was going to be on my year-end list, and I stand by that statement. It is just as good as the first day I listened to it. If you have not listened to Brainstorm for whatever reason, then I highly recommend you give them a listen. This album, I think, would be a good starting point. But yeah, other than that, this is an absolutely incredible display of just classic German power metal. And these guys will be at Prog Power next year. I'm definitely excited for that, and I can't wait to nerd with them about this album because it is just so good. So, we have made it to the top 3. And at number 3, we have Orbit Culture, Death Above Life. Yeah, I think you all knew this was going to be on the list even before you all watched my top 10 metal death albums of 2025 video. And I still stand by it. I raved, basically, about this album in that video. And I will still stand by my statements that it is absolutely incredible. Inferna, Bloodhound, Inside the Waves, The Tales of War. When I heard that chorus, I knew it was going to be on the list. Hydra, the title track, Death Above Life. Neural Collapse. This whole album is just chock full with headbang-worthy riffs. Of course, Nicholas he can sing just as well as everyone. He can croon surprisingly well. That's something that shocked me, is how good his clean vocals were on this album. It's absolutely amazing. And yeah, I know that Buster Oldham is kind of a controversial figure in the metal world, especially with his production. I do agree it is kind of overproduced, but it helps out with the atmosphere on this album. And yes, I am hopefully going to see them in March next year on their US tour, because after releasing an album like this, I've got to see what the show is like. And if you want to give this album a spin, feel free to, because it is absolutely amazing. And I'm just going to go on a whole rambling adventure here if I keep talking, so let's move on. So, we're now down to the last 2. And trust me when I say that it was very close between these next 2 albums. But there's a reason why my number 1 is my number 1, and why my number 2 is my number 2. And even before I made my list, I had a feeling one of them would take the crown. But there can only be one. At number 2, we have Epica, A Spiral. This album is magnificent. And I mean that. It is just absolutely incredible symphonic metal. Of course, Simone Simmons, her vocals on this album are amazing. Mark Janssen, I'm surprised he hasn't blown his voice out with how heavy his death growls are. But the rest of the band too, like Isaac Delahaye, he can do amazing guitar solos. Rob and Aryan, the rhythm section, they do amazing. And there's even blast beats in some of the songs as well, which, that's cool. And of course, Kuhn Janssen on keyboards doing an absolutely amazing job. Standout songs for me include Cross the Divide, Arcana, Darkness Dies in Light, Fight to Survive, Time, that's such a good song. The Grand Saga of Resistance might be my favorite on the whole album. But yeah, this is an amazing Epica album. And dare I say, this might be better than most of Nightwish's discography. Like, I will die on that mountain. I like this band more than Nightwish. But yeah, if you are an Epica fan and you have not listened to this album, definitely do so. And if you are wanting to get into this band, listen to this album because it is wonderful and I cannot recommend it enough. And I'm so happy that I got to see this band live because they put on an amazing, amazing show. So, we have made it to the last album. And trust me when I say that even before I listened to the full album, I had a very, very strong feeling that this is going to be my number one. Even when I had only heard one single. No, scratch that 4, but I digress. And if you guys know me, there is one album missing from this whole list. And I think you know which one it is. Because all I had to say is for Bonny, Scotland. At number 1, my pick for the best album of 2025 is Zenith by Bleed From Within. Good golly, this album goes exceptionally hard. Like, this is some of the fiercest Scottish metalcore I have ever heard. And I mean that literally. This is heavy in every sense of the word, both lyrically and metallic. Like, right from the opening song, Violent Nature, you know that it is going to be a enormous barn burner of a record. Zenith, A Hope in Hell, Dying Sun, Immortal Desire, which features Bron Daler from Mastodon, Known by No Name, Hands of Sin, which is my Song of the Year 2025, and Edge of Infinity, which is playing in the background right now. And I mean it when I say that this band and Ordinogan are pretty much tied when it comes to chorus hooks. Like, there are catchy choruses on this album for literal days. And it is beautiful. But because it's also a metalcore album, you would expect there to be some heavy breakdowns, and there are. In fact, there are some bagpipes during the breakdown, in place of your Halo, and the whole band just shines on this album. Like, Scott Kennedy on vocals, absolutely incredible. Stephen Jones, yeah, his cleans might take some time for people to get into, but other than that, it is an amazing album, and I cannot stress how wonderful Craig Gowan's guitar solos on here are. They are amazing. And of course, Davey Provan on bass and Ali Richardson on drums at the rhythm section. Ali's drum performance on this album is incredible. And I cannot say enough great things about this album. It is exceptional. And yeah, this deserved to be number one even before I had listened to this album. And here's a bit of fun trivia for you. I might be going to the Masquerade next year, but we will see. But I will definitely say this. Out of everything I listened to, I am pleased to say that Zenith by Bleed From Within is my number one album of 2025. And if anyone from Bleed From Within is watching, for Bonny, Scotland. So, we have made it to the end. And boy howdy, was this a fun list to put together. And it was really hard to rank as well, but I digress. This year, 2025, was stacked with killer releases, and there were some that almost made the list I want to shout out. November's Doom, Major Arcana, Kaltfront by Icebreaker, Pop Evil, What Remains, yes, you heard that right. Scorpion Child, I Saw the End as it passed right through me, and so many other amazing albums almost came close to joining the list. But overall, 2025 was an absolutely incredible year. I cannot thank you all enough for helping me out, growing my YouTube channel right now, and let's push my model railroad video to over 500 views, please. But yeah, this has been an absolutely amazing, amazing year. I don't even know what else there is to say other than Broad Power 2026. Yes, indeed, I'm very much hyped for that. But until then, if you liked what you saw, give this video a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because I do stuff like this mostly all the time. But before I close out, there is a link in the description to a Google Docs form that contains the list of every album I listened to this year. It's, I'm pretty sure, roughly 130. In addition to that, there is a link to the Spotify playlist I made for the best songs of 2025. And until next time, before I go, I just want to say, we love you, Ozzy. We love you, and we miss you dearly. Until then, dear viewers, my name is Cal, and I will catch you trackside. Have a good night.